So in the last video, you read through the article until we arrived at this set of claims. And we noted certain things like drone strikes should continue is stronger than, or is a more robust conclusion than the conclusion we actually need, which is that they should continue if the Obama administration can offer more clarity on what's being done. So this is going to need to be modified a bit. And the question is, more generally, how to work all of this into a single cogent argument, in particular valid argument, for the conclusion that we have up here. And that's what we're going to work on now. So here again, I'm going to list all those claims that were on the last slide. And then I'm going to start to think about how to fit them all together. Well, the claim that drone strikes are protecting American lives is really crucial. The claim that there's no better way of doing that looks like it's crucial. The claim that states have a primary responsibility to protect their citizens looks like it's crucial. And the claim that if it's the case that states have a primary responsibility to protect their own citizens, then if drone strikes do that, and there's no better way of doing it, then they should continue, also looks like it's central. And those together, via this intermediate conclusion, are going to give us that drone strikes should continue, which again is a bit stronger, so we need some way to, a bit more robust, so we need some way to add that qualification about being able to offer more clarity about what's being done. But something like that is the centerpiece. Something like that is what we want. And then the other considerations will presumably be driving us towards those pieces, the way that 1 and 2 are clearly driving towards 3. So the question is how to do that. And what you do is you play around with it. You try out various things. You ask yourself, this claim here, ending drone strikes would not substantially reduce anti-Americanism. Which of these might that support? Okay? And it looks like it might be supporting 4, that there's no better way of achieving the goals that drone strikes achieve, or it might be supporting 3, that drone strikes are protecting American lives, but something in that neighborhood. So you want to start thinking about how 9 could drive us towards 3 or 4. Or maybe it's supporting 1, that drone strikes are weakening al-Qaeda. You want to start to think about how does that really work. Next, drone strikes are less harmful to civilians than other means of achieving the same goals. Well, that looks like it's clearly supporting 4, right? That there's no better way of achieving the goals. Drone strikes are less harmful than other ways of achieving those goals. So 10 is going to be either the same as 4 or part of the evidence for 4. And then we get if 10, and there's good reason to be an armed conflict in those areas, then drone strikes are ethical and legal. So we get if there's good reason to be there, then drone strikes are ethical and legal. And the fact that they're protecting American lives and that's the foremost obligation of any country suggests maybe there is good reason to be there. So we're going to want to figure out how to combine these to get up here. There's a variety of ways you might do that. Here's how I did it. So I start by identifying my conclusion. The U.S. should continue drone strikes if the Obama administration can offer more clarity on what's being done. And I just put that as unless the Obama administration can't offer more clarity on what's being done. Same statement. Now here's the argument. If drone strikes protect U.S. citizens, then the U.S. should continue them unless there's good reason not to. And I add the unless there's good reason not to so we can look at the various things the author says trying to show that maybe drone strikes are less harmful than other means of reaching al-Qaeda. And things such as ending drone strikes wouldn't reduce anti-American sentiment. So if drone strikes protect U.S. citizens, then the U.S. should continue them unless there's good reason not to. They do protect U.S. citizens. We have 3 here asserting that. The U.S. should continue drone strikes. That follows from 1 and 2. Of course, unless there's good reason not to. And then we have, if there's good reason not to, then it's because the Obama administration can't offer more clarity on what's being done. Why is that? Because the other potential reasons to think drone strikes are bad, like you might think they would reduce anti-Americanism, aren't true. Why? Because ending drone strikes wouldn't do that. Okay? So once we have that the U.S. should continue drone strikes unless there's good reason not to, and we have that the only potential good reason not to is that the Obama administration can't offer more clarity, then we get that the U.S. should continue drone strikes unless the Obama administration can't offer more clarity, which is the conclusion here. And now I'm going to treat the various other parts of the argument as driving towards the premises of this. 3 is an intermediate conclusion, so the premises are 1, 2, and 4. So let's start with 1. Why does the author think that if drone strikes protect U.S. citizens, then the U.S. should continue them unless there's good reason not to? Well, because the foremost obligation of any country is to protect its own citizens. So if drone strikes protect US citizens, then the US should continue them unless there's good reason not to. So these two premises lead to number 1. Next, why think drone strikes protect US citizens? Well, they're weakening Al-Qaeda, and that's protecting US citizens. And that's why we should think drone strikes are protecting US citizens. Why think if drone strikes, if there's good reason to continue drone strikes, then if there's good reason not to continue them, it's because the Obama administration can't offer more clarity. Well, here we can have this kind of big premise, which says, if there's good reason not to continue drone strikes, then it's it's on this list. It's one of these 4 reasons. And then what we're going to do is we're going to knock down all of them except the Obama can't offer more clarity one. And then we get, if there's good reason not to continue drone strikes, it's because the Obama administration can't offer more clarity. So there's good legal justification, and the author provided an argument for that, so we'll look at that argument. Drone strikes don't harm US citizens in ways that outweigh the gains. The author at least asserted that. And there's no better ways to weaken Al-Qaeda. The author again at least asserted that. If 4.2, 4.3, and 4.4 are true, 4.2 knocks out this one, that there's no good legal justification. 4.3 knocks out this one, that there are better ways to do it. That drone strikes harm US citizens in ways that outweigh the gains. And 4.4 knocks out this one, that there are better ways to do it. So let's look at reasons to think that 4.2, 0.3, 0.4 are true. So what does the author say about legal justification? Well, the author says if the US is at war in these areas and drone strikes minimize casualties, then there's good legal reason to continue them. The US is at war in these areas, so if drone strikes minimize casualties, then there's good legal reason to continue them. Therefore, drone strikes minimize casualties. It is the case that drone strikes minimize casualties. So now we have if drone strikes minimize casualties, then there's good legal justification for them. They minimize casualties, so we get there's good legal justification for them. What about drone strikes don't harm US citizens in ways that outweigh the gains? Well, the author says drone strikes harm US citizens in ways that outweigh the gains. If they do, it's for one of these reasons. It's because ending drone strikes would significantly undermine recruitment efforts or would reduce anti-US sentiment. And the author then says it wouldn't undermine recruitment efforts and it wouldn't end anti-US sentiment. So it follows that ending drone strikes would not have benefits that outweigh the costs. Next up, there's no better way to weaken Al-Qaeda and affiliated groups. Well, any way to weaken Al-Qaeda and affiliated groups would cost more lives, American and other. If that's right, then there's no better way, so there's no better way. So now we have our central argument here. We saw the various support for the pieces of that argument, and we end up, that whole package is the solution, is the argument. Now notice when you're doing this, if you come up with something in this neighborhood, you're doing well. If you add in this first level of detail here, where you have the support we had for 1, the support we had for 2, and the support we had for 4, you're doing well. If you then add in the support for these subsidiary premises, you're doing better still. Note also that this isn't the only way to organize it. As I said, there's other ways to organize it. What I really want from you is to have something in the neighborhood of the set of claims that are here and work it into a valid argument that makes sense. Okay, so we'll stop this video there.